everybody, we're live. I'm Ernesto.
I'm Merrick.
And this is the Caviling, unless you didn't notice from that title thing that was up there.
The great overlay right over our faces.
All right. So a little bit about us and the show. We've worked together as programmers before, and we love video games. Sometimes we hate video games. Like that's what the show's going to be a little bit about, is like us loving and hating video games.
I was going to say, this actually all started a couple years ago where my car was broken and I carpooled with Ernesto to work. And so every single morning he would get this highly opinionated rant about the latest thing that I hated. And during that time, he and I built up a lot of a friendship over just talking about things, whether it was Tesla, video games, or movies. Those were our biggest three conversations. And so that kind of where it came out. We actually had one night where I was over at his house for up to 3 a.m. talking about Elon Musk and Tesla, and then also video games, because that also always comes up. Yeah. And we thought that they were really interesting conversations and wanted to share.
Yeah, absolutely. We were up to 2 a.m. talking about random stuff, and my thought that night was we should have probably just live streamed this. Somebody would have watched it, right?
Yeah. So that part of that conversation is going to be tonight. We decided, that was last Friday, that we were going to do this once a week, and part of that was on Apex, because one of the things that I can't stand is when everybody hates or really loves a terrible game. And that was my experience with Apex. The game was super buggy. It lagged. You can't change settings. You know that they're just there for show. So I had a lot of discontent with Apex, but everybody seemed to love it, and I agree that the gameplay was fun. But yeah, so here we were like, oh, let's change our models to low and apply that. And it's like, okay, we'll apply it. Guess what? Wait, oh, nope, they're high. Sorry. You literally can't change it. Anti-aliasing, you can't change it no matter what you want to do. And I have a 2070 GPU.
Yeah.
Always maxed out. I put all the settings on low just to try to change the GPU. It maxes it out no matter what.
Yeah. And that's kind of a problem for people that don't have the latest and greatest hardware. If you want to actually set the settings to medium or low so you can actually play the game, sometimes it doesn't let you do that. Of course, it's bugs. Every game has bugs, but that seems like a pretty big one, not being able to change the settings.
Yeah, or they didn't seem to take effect. I don't know what they're doing with the rest of the processor.
Right, yeah.
So, but Ernesto loved it. He also loved Transformers, so he has a pretty low threshold.
Right. Yeah. I'll admit, I actually kind of liked the first Transformers movie. Just the first one, though. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It goes way downhill after that. So, don't count me out just yet.
We didn't know that there was a hill to go down until they went down that hill. We thought they started at the valley on on the Transformers movies, and we were all surprised. Even I was surprised that it got worse.
I'm moving our titles around because they're on the wrong spots. So now I can do this.
Oh, nice. So do bear with us. This is the first time that we've done this, and so we want to have a fun stream that we can share some of our conversations with you guys. And so
if you have any questions, go ahead and make sure you put stuff in the comments. We're mostly tracking Facebook right now, but we'll be better about looking at comments on Twitch and on Mixer.
Yeah.
And we will be live on more platforms moving forward as well. But the main purpose of the show is to produce a podcast. So be on the lookout for information about our podcast once we've recorded this one.
Follow our Twitter. It will be posted later. Follow us on Twitter, and we will be tweeting out the information on that. So as soon as that's live, we'll have that tweeted out, and you can download it and listen to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
cool. So Apex Legends, sure the graphics, the graphic settings and all that, kind of a problem. Gameplay wise, it's part of the whole battle royale craze, right? It started with, I think PUBG was the big like catalyst for battle royale.
It's the first one I remember.
Right, it's the first one I remember. It's definitely not the first one. I'm sure people in the audience will correct us, but I think there were some other battle royale games before that. But I think PUBG is probably the biggest one so far.
First ones as large, because like Super Smash Brothers kind of battle royale, but it's only like 4 or 8
but
players.
I think what I'm thinking is maybe games that have like a lot of players, right? You know, Apex has 60, PUBG has 100.
Battlefield was kind of.
You could almost say Battlefield could be, but they didn't really have a battle royale mode, right?
Right.
Like they had the player count for sure. I think Battlefield is the first game that I remember having 40 plus players on one map, and I always thought that was extremely impressive, especially for the time, because that was I think I had a 600 megahertz like Pentium 3 or something when Battlefield 1 came out, and I was running a 40 plus player game on that piece of junk. So.
And how long ago was this?
Oh my gosh. I was in high school. Don't know.
So that's like
15,
30
20
years ago if he was in high school.
I'm ancient now. No.
Yeah. And this is my problem. We only get 60 players. I feel like Apex dropped the ball. So they have really great gameplay. I actually won't hate on the gameplay. I think I'm not even a first-person shooter fan, and they pulled off the first-person shooter really well, like Titanfall 2 did. Oh, wait, I think that's because it is Titanfall 2.
Oh, you think so? You think it's Titanfall 2? Yeah, it is. It's not a secret.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually never played Titanfall 2 before Apex came out, but I tried it because everybody was like, it's basically Titanfall. Titanfall is a way better game, by the way.
I agree. If you love Apex, you owe it to yourself to actually try Titanfall 2, especially since you can get it for like $5 regularly.
Because Apex is out.
Right. So. So definitely check it out. It's a very underrated game.
So the first person shooter, but I find, 250 years ago, we had books. And books were the things that we used to portray stories and these things. And then 25 years ago, we had movies. Obviously a little bit earlier than that, but they weren't in color before then, so they didn't really count. And now we have video games, which offer way more complexity. You can have alternate endings. You can drive the story in your way. Apex was like, we have all of this. Let's just throw it away. Let's just get rid of story, character building. Like, where do these people even come from? Like the 6 people that are in it, I haven't seen any backstory on any of them.
No. I think that apart from some trailers for Apex Legends itself, similar to what they did with what's the game from Blizzard?
Overwatch?
Yeah, Overwatch. So Overwatch doesn't really have like a story mode per se, but they have lots of cinematic trailers for each of the characters. I think Apex had a little bit. They had like one video, right, when they introduced the game.
I missed those.
Yeah, it was just one video, but it's not anywhere near the level of Overwatch, where each character gets like a dedicated like 5-minute movie basically about their backstory. So yeah, but definitely like you're right. There's hardly any backstory. I can't think of any backstory for the unlockable characters because those came later.
You mean the pay to win?
The pay to win characters?
I realize that they might not be overpowered, so that's not. I generally don't like it when you pay to change how a game is played. So I think any time that you pay money to change how the game is played is a bad mechanic.
Right.
That is my only thing. I'm not saying those characters are overpowered because I don't actually think they are. I just don't like paying to change the behavior of a game and how it plays.
Right.
The other thing is they kind of came out with a multiplayer game that you have to play on a team. So if you're not familiar, you play on a team of 3. You're one of 3, and it's I actually did figure out how to mute a player. It's possible. It was not very inherent on how to do it. Because I had one person that sang the entire time, and I couldn't mute him, and it was not great singing. He was not trained in opera, and he was trying to do opera. So,
Right.
And I don't know if that was patched in later. Anyways, it's under tab if you're trying to. You can't report bad actors, so I don't know. 1 out of every 5 games, one of the teammates will just go off on their own and do their own thing. No, not with you.
They just abandon you, basically.
Basically, they just go run off. I don't know if they're new and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Even though in comms we've asked for them to come back, they don't come back. And then the other about 1/5 of the time, so you get abandons where they just leave. So there's no way to report these players. There is no reporting system. So you're stuck playing with bad actors. They have easy anti-cheat, which effectively was really easy for them to implement because it doesn't do anything. It's the easiest anti-cheat system. So these are some of the things that have really plagued it for me. The next thing comes up is that it's a free-to-play, which is really great. I love free-to-play games. But they're free-to-play. They want me to buy skins. And these skins are terrible. I have a video of some of their skins. I go through some of their best skins, and these are actually added a little bit later. These weren't with their release. Their skins don't change their models at all. Not at all.
Is it this?
Possibly. Sorry, I am not a very good video editor. No, this is not it. But this is Apex Legends, and this is me playing. You will notice that I am terrible at Apex Legends. Oh, I do believe this is where somebody just drops.
Someone just drops out.
Yeah, we don't even get to play in the game. This game is a lot more fun if you play with somebody.
Yeah, like definitely if you try to do solo or even 2 players, you're just out of luck.
Yeah, the game would be much better. And I have started playing with some friends, and that has made it a lot better. It was actually really weird. There's no way to friend somebody inside the game. You actually have to leave the game. So if you had fun playing with somebody and you're like, hey, I want to play with them. Well, you have to remember their name, which I don't know if you've ever seen gamer tags. They're not usually that easy to remember.
No.
And you have to leave, go into Origin, which Origin is not the greatest piece of software, and friend them. So here is some general gameplay from Apex Legends. I am a terrible first-person shooter. I don't play first-person shooters. So don't judge me on that. Well, judge me. It's fine.
Feel free to judge.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do it all the time, so feel free. I'm really bad at it. So I know Ernesto really likes it. It's on his top 10 favorite games this year, which it's early in the year. There's only been like 10 games, and Ernesto has loved all of them. They're all on his top 10.
Every single one of them.
Every one.
Yep.
I actually couldn't name 10 games released so far. Because there's been Apex Legends, so there's been no need to know any other. There is one, its name escapes me, something like Anthem, made by the same publisher. It's probably a... Oh, wait, I killed somebody. Man, look at me. I rock.
Is this a kill streak, though?
That's the longest kill streak I've ever had. 1.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that I liked about the game was, well, like you mentioned before, I'm a fan of Titanfall. So it feels like Titanfall. Except for, they took out the wall running, which I think was a huge piece of Titanfall. And, of course, the Titans. There's no Titans,
No Titans.
Yeah. But apart from that, if especially for those of you that have played Titanfall and really enjoyed more of the on-the-ground, like foot soldier type gameplay. Like if you just enjoyed playing as a pilot and not so much as the Titan, then I think you're going to really enjoy the gameplay here.
Also, if you really like Battle Royale, I found out one thing I really don't like is Battle Royale, because there's like, I died, and now there's this entire cycle of getting back through to another game.
Right. Yeah.
And then you spend the first 5 minutes of the next game scouring. That actually brings me to another point that I don't actually like about Apex is they give experience, which is the way you get free loot.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to get experience is actually staying alive the longest, not actually getting kills. So they're kind of rewarding this. Oh, look, another dropout. This is awesome. They kind of reward this mentality of just staying along the livest, or staying alive the longest, which can sometimes be a little annoying. Especially, there has been times I haven't seen anybody until there's only like 5 teams left. And it's like, I haven't done anything. I don't deserve this.
Right.
So we actually have a lot of Apex Legends. Like I said, I like the gameplay. I just feel like they missed the ball. Also, see that waterfall? This kills me. What is supplying that pond with water? Because it's like an endless waterfall. It's always waterfalling.
Well, I think we cracked the case earlier.
The pumps.
And but for to elaborate on that, that's their energy storage mechanism.
Oh, they're releasing the water.
They're using there's solar panels somewhere around here. I don't see them yet. They're hidden, but they use the solar energy to pump the water up, and then they do the hydroelectric.
This clip is one of my favorites because I so beat this guy. I come in and I melee him and I win. I win this. And then I'm an idiot and just stay around and wait for his friend to come and kill me. Like, I could have just done E there. But I do the healing drone, I sit around for a little while, and then I'm like, wait, no, I'll go kill him now. And there's his friend, and so then I just die.
Yep. They did so well.
I'm terrible at these games. So
that's Apex Legends right there. If you love first-person shooters or if you really enjoyed Titanfall 2, it's great. I will say though that if you're not a fan of having to end your game basically after you die and having to restart, like we're seeing here basically, you're not gonna like this. Like for instance, if you didn't like Counter-Strike because as soon as you died, you just have to sit there and wait for your team to finish the game, you're not gonna like this either. I mean, it's worse.
This is worse, yeah.
Because now not only do you have to wait for your team, you got to get out of the game completely and load another game.
I was gonna say they actually you go into like a lobby, which is really weird.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you're looking to get skins, this is also not your game.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing, I'm not a fan of Fortnite. I actually don't like Fortnite's gameplay. I like Apex's gameplay a lot better than Fortnite's. If they did an awesome job on skins, they have a lot of fun skins. Like none of these skins were fun.
Yeah. So like, I think we have some images here. Like, there's one.
Yeah. Not that I'm running around in a bunny suit. I would. If I could run around in Apex Legends in that, I would so be running around in Apex Legends. I would have paid money to get that to run around in Apex Legends.
So yeah, I mean, that kind of skin actually took an artist some effort to put together. It's not almost not a skin. I would almost say it's a different model.
It's a different mesh. Yeah. Like in Apex Legends, they're all the same meshes effectively. Actually, there are a few new ones that I noticed that have like some tubes that are added on, but it's still the same base mesh with just some stuff added on.
Right.
But some of the ones like the Banana Man.
I think we have that.
I mean, that's my favorite. He's definitely evil banana because the banana blinks.
I mean, these are like really cool models that honestly I would pay a few dollars for that. Like if I saw one that I really enjoyed, then sure, why not?
I want the banana one, and I don't even play Fortnite. I was like, I want that.
Right. Yeah, I think when people say, oh, there's different skins, especially in Apex, they mean skins in the traditional sense of like it's just a texture swap.
Yeah, it is a texture swap. That's all of the Apex Legends ones, and so I call Apex Legends a money grab, and people will be like, "It's a free game. How do you call it a money grab?" Because it's free.
You're right.
Well, the reason is they took an already made game,
Mm-hmm.
they re-released it with a different name,
Mm-hmm.
ask you to pay money for skins and locked heroes,
You're right.
and they put minimal work into it. Those skins are minimal work.
Yeah.
So this is why I would consider it as a money grab. They only support 60 people in the arena. I feel like that's weird. Maybe there's a better reason. I actually emailed them. They haven't responded to me. I'm a nobody, so that was fine. I emailed them though and asked them why only 60. Did they have like technical problems with it? Because I'm pretty sure they use the source engine, and I've never seen the source engine do that. So possibly, but they didn't respond to me. I didn't know why. I kind of was hoping for like 120.
Yeah. I mean, it is running on the source engine, and I don't know if the source engine's ever been pushed to that many players, to be honest.
I don't think it has. The source
or
engine,
or even a map that large.
The source engine got pushed with Half-Life 2.
Right. Yeah, and Half-Life 2 loaded in small sections.
Yeah.
I mean, you would play like, I don't know, it felt like 15 minutes, and then you'd hit a loading wall.
Yeah.
Constantly.
So I don't know, but they didn't seem to want to divulge that information to me either.
Right,
so
yeah. There's always a lot of reasons why. I mean, the engine could be a limitation. Their net code might be a limitation too.
So one of the things that brings me up to is I think this was a failure on the publisher. The publisher made 2 really big games, and both of them obviously spent a lot of time. I don't actually have any gameplay footage because it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the gameplay was beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful games I've played. Everything else pretty much sucked about it. It's called Anthem. I don't feel like we need to talk about it here because I don't think it's overhyped, so we can move on. I played one level. I got a loading screen to a loot out, like the loot that I got that level, to another loading screen to a little cinematography thing, to another loading screen. And I was like, and these loading screens are the longest loading screens. And I mean, I have NVM2 discs. Like, these don't run on slow discs. These are the longest loading screens I have ever seen. I have loaded games faster than their loading screen in the game loads. So
yeah, and for a game where you're flying at high velocity and trying to get to the next part of the map, it kind of breaks up the experience to have to hit that loading wall.
That loading wall it's a long loading wall. I'm serious. It's a super long loading wall, and yeah, it sucked.
Yeah.
Now the in-game experience was fantastic. Actually, the movie aspect of it was worse than the in-game. In-game looked better. I don't know why, but like the in-game not pre-recorded looked worse. I don't know if it was like trying to keep size down.
Well, I think that a lot of games are still using, I think, is it called Bink or Blink video? I think it might be Bink, like the Bink encoder, which is ancient. I'm sure, like, if I were to find a logo, I'll have to look one up for the next episode. This codec has been around since, as far as I can remember, playing video games on PC. And the reason why developers still use it is because it's royalty free. They don't have to pay any licenses for the Bink encoder. The thing is that encoder is horrible. It has the worst quality compared to H.264 or H.265. It is just junk. It takes way more data to process the same amount of video, but it's still around because they don't have to pay for it. And when you're thinking about, okay, well, I'm going to sell 2 million copies of this game, you don't want to have to pay for a license for an encoder. So a lot of these game developers are still stuck with ancient technology.
Will AV1 or fix that?
Possibly. That is the open source one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, another possibility would be something like using Google's VP8 or VP9, which isn't AV1, maybe like an evolution.
I was going to say, I think Google's a part of that.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I think that could definitely help. And I'd say...
because the cutscenes looked worse. Like, it was staggering. Like, you got to a cutscene, and I'm like, you should have just done it in the game engine because it was worse.
Right.
And, Anthem struggles from a lot of problems. And one of the problems was the publisher released Apex on the same month that, Anthem was millions of, I forget the number. I did look it up. They spent a lot of money making Anthem.
Yeah.
To tank it themselves, which was, it wasn't like a competitor. I don't know what executive thought that this was great, but I hope they make a lot of money on Apex because they lost a lot on Anthem.
Yeah, I think actually Apex is turning out to be actually a pretty good investment like a copy of a previous game, for EA. Definitely, because you're right. EA was banking on Anthem doing pretty well because they haven't been doing so great on the last couple of games they released. Last big release before that was Battlefield 2, I think. Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
The Star Wars game. They did just release Battlefield 5, was it?
And Battlefront 2, I have a terrible opinion of that. So that should never have been released.
So, yeah, I think everyone's already heard the whole, pay-to-win fiasco with Battlefront 2.
Which they did again in Apex just slightly. Again, I'm not saying that those heroes are overpowered, but this is something EA continuously tries to do, is pay for changing the game, how the game plays. Unless you pay, I don't know, they're not expensive. They're like $5. But unless you pay $5, you can't get the heroes.
Right. Yeah.
And the experience actually grows. So each level, it takes more experience to get to the next level. At least through the first 20 levels. I've only been through 20. Maybe there's a cap at some point.
Yeah.
So that means it's actually harder to get free loot the more you play. Which, if you're going to be free to play, it seems.
Yeah. So there's Battlefield 5. I think did pretty well, but it's still not. It's not doing as well as say the Call of Duty series, which I don't like at all. That's one game that I really don't love anymore. I used to love the old Call of Duty games. They were some of my favorites, and then I don't know. I think it overcomplicated them. Maybe for another episode we can talk about
EA. We could go a whole episode on EA and they make great games. Was this game, I'm going to let you guys come up with the name, where you travel around in space and you met different aliens. Now, they were all kind of humanoid aliens, and that kind of irked me, but I have a problem with people coming up with aliens that look like humans. They're they walk on two legs. Oh, wow, that was... You're ingenious. Their head's a little bit bigger. Maybe they're green. I don't know.
Talk about an asset swap.
Yeah. Anyways, and if you look at the last one, started out great. EA kind of just seems to grind things.
Yep. That game, the first one again was pretty awesome, and the second one was actually I enjoyed more because it had fewer RPG elements to it. I'm sure people are going to hate me for that.
That's actually what I'm hating. I like the RPG of the first one.
This is Mass Effect, right?
Mass Effect, yeah.
Just for everyone, it's what are you guys talking about?
If you're
Mass Effect is what we're talking about. I really enjoyed the first one, mostly for the story. Graphics wise and stuff, it wasn't the most polished game, and it had a lot of bugs when it first came out. But I thought the story was pretty cool, and the gameplay was pretty decent, and it had enough RPG elements that it didn't push me away. Because for me, a shooter should have good shooting mechanics first, and then if you want to layer in RPG elements, do that. Mass Effect, the first game, it was okay at both things. I wouldn't say that it excelled in any particular aspect of the game, except for maybe the story. But Mass Effect 2, I think, felt more polished, even though they did walk back the RPG elements. It was definitely more I felt like I was playing Gears of War, to be honest, because it felt like a cover shooter. And there were way fewer RPG elements. The upgrade, the upgrade system for the weapons, it almost seemed like it didn't exist.
And this is one of the reasons I hate 2.
Yeah.
The story was still okay.
Right.
3 just destroyed the story and the gameplay.
Right. Yeah.
And I think one of the problems was their multi-arching story. They got confused themselves, or maybe they didn't realize after making the first one that they were going to make a second one. So
maybe
they never really planned for that.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit disappointed about how little the story changed, depending,
Yeah, I apologize. We actually hadn't planned on talking about Mass Effect,
right.
But my only point was EA has a history of doing this.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Titanfall 2 was actually one of the first times where I would say that EA's second game was better than the first game.
Yeah.
Titanfall, I hadn't played Titanfall 2 until after playing Apex, because the first Titanfall I really didn't like that much. It was okay, but it was like,
yeah,
okay.
Well, I don't think it even had a single player campaign. It was just multiplayer. Titanfall 2 has an incredible single player campaign.
Well, and this is where I think some of these video games are missing it. Like, these are really immersive platforms that we have, and they're just not taking advantage of it.
Right. Well, EA doesn't really believe in single player games. Those don't sell anymore. Nobody wants to play by themselves. What?
Right. When you can make them force their friends to have to buy it so that you can play it, it's good.
Yeah, so I mean, there you have it. Anthem, EA. We'll probably talk about EA a lot on this show because they're a big publisher. They make lots of mistakes. We wish they didn't, because they did put out good games in the past,
and they hold the IP to the good games. So we have to bank on them actually making the game good again.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, we're
absolutely. All right.
So, we do want to, every once in a while, we're not always going to be games or movies. We're going to talk about a wide spectrum, but while we do talk about games, we always want to devote some of this to indies. So I'm really harsh on games. I will come down, and game developers like Anthem, or game developers like EA, they put millions of dollars in it. They shouldn't have made these mistakes, and that's where it comes down to. If you put millions of dollars, you shouldn't have a problem like Anthem did with the release timing, with the other games, with the loading screens. That's just not acceptable. When we flip the coin to indie developers, they have small teams, 3, sometimes 1 developer. And so I'm a lot more forgiving on those, because guess what? It's not that they couldn't fix it. They just had everything else to do as well. So anyways, we want to devote some of this to talking about our favorite indie. And there was 2 that I had. The first, I'm sorry, I just hit my microphone.
We just blew your eardrums out.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Sorry.
Don't sue us, please.
I'm an idiot. If my voice wasn't bad enough, you have that now. I wanted to talk about a little group called Team Cherry. They made Hollow Knight. I think we have a video of Hollow Knight.
Yes, let's play that footage.
Now, Silksong is their next one. They actually just released a trailer, but they spent 3 years making this. They did a Kickstarter. It was really awesome. You know what? There are things that I could nitpick on this. Like, once you learn it, it's way too easy and there's not a hard enough challenge. Some of the bosses get a little repetitive, like once you learn their patterns. But there's stuff, as Ernesto pointed out, with speedrunners where they like the patterns because it can be consistent. It's about skill and not about...
Right, yeah. I think for speedrunners... they want to be able to have a repeatable result.
No.
And that's the whole idea of a speed run, is that if you get really good at it, you can improve on the time because everything's predictable.
Right. So if the bosses are less predictable, which I would prefer from just... I tried to play it a second time. Actually, I am playing a second time because there is... The mode that you're watching right now, you can't die. So if you die, your game is over, and they delete your save, and you try again.
Right.
But while I was doing this, I was like, this is actually really easy. Like, I'm probably not going to die because I know the movements of everything. But as it is, I really like the game. I think they did an excellent job. It's a Metrovanian. If you like Metrovanian, you should check it out. This is at the very beginning, and then I also had some video of when you have some powers and the game's actually fun to play. Right now, all you can do is jump and swing your sword, and you're kind of pathetic. I'm not going to lie, the beginning hour is not the funnest or the most fun.
So here's some later footage, so later in the game.
You can shade around, you can wait on elevators, which is also sometimes annoying. I wish they got rid of the elevators. If you're listening, Team Cherry, get rid of the elevators.
Maybe that's their loading wall.
That it's like a loading wall, and it's terrible. I did not like it.
It's a pretty cleverly hidden.
Actually, maybe that's a really great way of doing loading walls is to never mind, keep doing it. As long as that's the reason. If it's just because you want to put an elevator in there,
yeah. I mean, it's an amazing game. I think I might be 20 or 30% through the original game, Hollow Knight. Right.
Yeah.
But I love it so far. And I never really played the original Metroid or Castlevania.
So his opinion doesn't count.
Right. Yeah, don't listen to me. But from a fresh perspective, I think it's an awesome game. So if you've never played those types of games, you might really enjoy this one. And it might lead you to go back and play some of those,
the old classics. So they did a lot of things really well. It's definitely worth checking out. It's not, I think it's $15 on Steam. The other thing while we're watching this that I wanted to talk about was there are some people that are developing indie games on Steam or on stream.
Oh yeah.
On Twitch. So there's going to be two on screen that I have really enjoyed that you can check out and support. They are making them on stream. This is their Twitch accounts, so give them check them out, follow them, watch what they're doing. Rymu has done some really awesome stuff with he's actually building the back-end server, so there's actually a consensus algorithm to keep everybody in sync. And Tim Bidet is also making his own engine, if you're interested in those. And he is making, it's kind of like Rocket League, except more like focused on racing. And all of these guys are indie developers, so you should check them out. See, look, I just skipped the elevator. They needed to take these out.
Wow, I didn't even know you could do that. It's kind of a spoiler, huh?
Yeah, skip the elevators. Like they're useless and they're slow. Right. So the worst part about the elevators is usually they're not where you are, so you have to call them and wait for them.
Okay.
And then you have to get in them and wait for them to go up. So here is the best part of my video editing. I actually sped up this fight because I haven't leveled up my nail at all. So if you don't level up your nail, you hit like a kitten, and I hit like kittens. And this fight takes forever. But my point that I was doing with this is that the bosses are really repetitive. And so even if you're underpowered, if you learn their patterns, it doesn't matter. You can still defeat them because, well, and see, I knew the patterns and I still got hit by it.
Yeah, because even if you're underpowered, all that means is that you have to hit them more.
Yeah.
Right?
Which means you have to stay alive longer.
So it means you have to hit them more, and it means that you can take fewer hits. So as long as you don't get hit, you can defeat the bosses. It just takes you longer.
So if you watch the speedrunners, they're actually really cool because if you watch the speedrunners, they don't get any extra health, and they don't upgrade their nail because that's all useless and takes extra time. And yeah, so they're really good at fighting these guys. A lot better than me. I'm not very good. Actually, I learned while cultivating this video that I'm not very good at video gaming, is what I cultivated. I I learned something about myself. So yeah, that was pretty much all the indie game.
Right.
We
yeah.
had some info on Metro Exodus.
That's right.
The
Metro.
big Epic only.
Yeah, and is Metro who's
A4 Games.
A4 Games? Is that who makes it? Okay. For some reason I started thinking CD Projekt Red, but that's
No.
different. Yeah.
Now that made The Witcher 3, which is a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I don't say fantastic game about many. The Witcher 3 made that.
So you said A4 Games. Are they kind of like an indie developer, sorta? I mean, they're bigger,
like,
right?
Yeah, and they have a publisher, so technically they're not.
They're not.
I heard one person refer to them as they're basically a small developer. They don't have the millions that EA wastes repeatedly. So what happened was this was actually interesting. I'd love to talk about this. They decided to release only on Epic, and so everybody got really upset because it wasn't going to be on Steam. And because we all get upset about everything, me included, everybody review bombed their other games that were on Steam.
Because they were boycotting Steam, basically.
Right, because they weren't releasing on Steam, because Steam will let them keep a lot more of their profits. And they actually let you have the game for cheaper if you get it on Steam.
Right, yeah. And so
or get it on Epic.
Right.
Yeah.
So Steam, like, I think they still charge like 30%.
30%. So
yeah. Which is, it's actually kind of typical. Like Apple charges 30%.
Yep.
And
Google
some other platforms do. Yeah.
Microsoft doesn't. And so anyways, and I don't know with their exclusive deal, they probably pay less because of their an exclusive. I know that, like, if I made a game that was worth selling, I could get 12%. That's what Epic charges.
Yeah, that's a much better deal for sure.
Way better deal.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that they got better than that to release purely on Epic. And so everybody gets really angry. And I think it was a really great choice for the company. One, it generated a ton of publicity because everybody got mad, which I think actually just worked for them. Now, that being said, I hate Epic Games, the launcher. I think the Unreal Engine is fantastic. Epic Games launcher is garbage.
Yeah. Obviously, Steam has been around for over a decade, well over a decade now. And I think it has had a lot of polish, though I will say it seems like it hasn't changed in a little while. But part of that is that maybe it doesn't need to change because it works. But
could you say works?
Yeah, I mean, it mostly works. It lets you buy games and download them.
Yeah.
And play them sometimes.
And play them offline, which Epic doesn't at this point.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big differentiator.
So and maybe that's in the works. They haven't said anything.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I was getting to, is that Epic Launcher is very new and very green. And they're obviously missing a lot of features.
Yeah. And I think actually the Epic Launcher started because they didn't want to pay for Fortnite the 30%. That seemed like a ridiculous amount.
Especially for a free-to-play game. That really eats into your profit.
Yeah, so anyways, it is garbage, though. So my biggest thing, I was looking over everything. Like, I have to be online. Well, I'm online anyways. That's not a huge deal, but I was in the middle of a cutscene in Metro Exodus. It shuts the game down and says, I'm updating you. While I was playing it.
While you were playing.
A single-player game. It's not like I was playing multiplayer and it's like, to join a new match, you have to update. No. Single-player game. Lost my save, so I had to beat the boss again. It was the bear boss, so there's this, not a really big a spoiler, you have to fight a big mutant bear at one point. I had just defeated it. There's a cutscene after it. It shuts my game down and says, it's updating now, with a 4 gig update. And I actually did write, I write a lot of emails that people ignore. Because this is the garbage that we can't deal with. But yeah, they shut my game down in the middle, just
in the middle of the game, single player game.
In the middle of the single player game, right? Like, who cares if I update it or not? Like,
Yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of things that they hopefully iron out. Definitely having to have an internet connection is kind of lame too. I mean, most people are connected to the internet,
And it
so
released with Fortnite, which is an online, like the battle royale
sure,
part is online only.
right, yeah,
So maybe it's just them being new.
sure, yeah. I will say though, like only charging 12.5%, like that's huge. I can see a lot of publishers moving to Epic just to save money, especially big games that I think people are just going to buy anyway.
Well, I mean, isn't this why EA has Origin? Which I
Yeah,
hate Origin just because it's Origin and
hmm
EA. Actually, Origin isn't that bad anymore. Like it does like one feature of Origin that I just want to know how they do it. You can only download like 12% of the game and start playing it, and that's pretty awesome.
right, yeah.
Not that
Yeah, I think consoles have been able to like PS4 and Xbox One support that where you can start playing like at least the first level or maybe just play multiplayer until the rest of the game.
Steam
It's kind of
supports
fun.
hitting the download button like 3 times to make sure that you're downloading it. And Epic just forces you to be online.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Problem solved.
Problem solved, right? Yeah. Yeah, so well, I don't know what the future of those launchers will be. I can kind of understand though the outrage with not publishing on Steam, and part of it is that for people that have a huge investment in Steam, like all of their games are on Steam, they bought all their games from Steam. It's annoying to have two, three, four, five different
But you already had to
launchers.
have it with Origin. Like all these
It's
people
true.
already had
Yeah,
Origin.
yeah. Origin was kind of the catalyst of like, well, I guess I already have another launcher.
Right. So I'm not saying that I want yet another launcher,
right.
but I feel like those people should have been okay because most of those people probably play EA games because
Yeah.
EA has a lot of games and
yeah. I wonder is I don't know if I saw this or read it, but isn't Metro Exodus only $50 on?
Yes,
it is.
They lowered the price.
There you go. That for me seals the deal. Like, okay, it's less than half. We've gone from 30% to 12 and a half.
I don't have a raging review of Metro Exodus. It was beautiful. If you can get a 2080, you might be able to do ray tracing on it and actually still maintain frame rate. It was still beautiful, despite that. I had a few problems with it. First, it's super linear. If you like linear, it's your game. Even with the expanding, they have like it's not really choices, but you can
like different paths. Is it
basically you can have different paths to the same objective. There are a few times where like you could save this person or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, like okay, I could do that.
Do you not feel like it changed anything about
so
the game?
there are 2 endings. We'll get to the endings though because I really hate that part as well. The next thing I come up with is models. I know that we said that they're kind of an indie. They're not really an indie developer. They have a lot of money,
right?
But they have a lot less than EA. They use the same model for all the bad guys. You can look up videos. I actually have a video, and I'll post it to our YouTube account, where I look at the faces of each of the 12 people that I kill in succession. They're the exact same face. They have some different clothes. They have about 4 different sets of clothing. And they actually did somewhat of a good job because they do it in a way that you don't notice it. I'm very critical, so I noticed it very quickly. It was worse when there was actually some nudity, and all 4 women looked the exact same. Because all that they did was they used clothing to change how the people looked. And so as soon as there wasn't that piece, I was like, oh, that's
the same model.
Literally the same 3D model. Same color hair. Everything was the same. So I was a little
shortcut taken.
They could have they did a good job of hiding it because I haven't actually seen a lot of people complain about it, but it was definitely a shortcut. I also felt like did you ever play I want to say Left 4 Dead, but it's not Left 4 Dead. It is a zombie game, survival. Notes. It was really good. The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, The Last of Us.
Last of Us. Fantastic game.
Yeah.
It felt like it wanted to be that survival game with The Last of Us. It because you could like collect stuff, but it was so linear that like it didn't really matter.
Well, I mean, The Last of Us is a really linear game too, extremely story driven. It seems like there's a
It didn't
cutscene.
feel that bad in The Last of Us.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it has. The Last of Us has a bit of a mix of like it is linear, but each area of the game is wide enough, I guess, or
Which
like
is effectively Metro Exodus.
yeah.
And my final point is there's an ending. There's two endings.
Mm-hmm.
There is a good bad ending and a bad ending. And I'm not going to tell you them. But basically, there's not like, oh, you stop this train so you don't get run over in the end because
Right.
you stopped the train, which is like a direct correlation.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a good enough person, and there's no meter for this, this is a magic number, a good enough person, and you saved enough people and you didn't kill innocent people, and exactly how many you were allowed, that I'm not quite sure, you got the good ending.
Okay.
So I played two times through as a good person, trying to get the good ending. I got it the second time. I missed the first time. I have no idea why. Like, I didn't kill any innocent person. Maybe I missed saving somebody. I'm not sure. It was. I got the bad ending the first time, and it takes a very long time to play through. So it was a little bit annoying that I got the bad ending because I'm the type of person that wants the ending. Like, I can't just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. So if any of you guys know what the secret sauce for the ending is, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Yeah. Tweet at us. You can tweet at us at and hit us up in Facebook. And
yeah, we're on Facebook. We're streaming on Mixer and Twitch. I think next time we'll set up Twitter via Periscope.
Twitter and Google.
And YouTube.
Or YouTube. Yeah. I said Google. But yeah, so let us know. Feel free to email us. You can email us at info@the
Caviling.
Caviling.com.
Yeah. That's how you spell it, the Caviling.
Yeah, if you don't know what the Caviling means, or Caviling, or to cavil somebody, you should look it up, get educated. We will try to be somewhat educated. And we will hopefully educate the people on good games and
bad ones too.
And bad ones. Mostly bad. Actually, mostly overrated ones. Those are the ones that annoy me. It's like I played Apex because Shroud said that it was like a really complete game. And I was like, this doesn't even have multiplayer functionality. I can't mute people. I can't report them. I can't. Is this actually a multiplayer game? It just forces you to play with strangers. I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, a lot of those games will improve, I think. I think one of the worst things about games nowadays is that pretty much the game that you get on day one is an incomplete game. Like, it needs multiple patches. They release broken, incomplete games.
And we should put our foot down. We should not buy it.
Yeah, well, at the very least, stop pre-ordering, please. Yeah. Stop pre-ordering these games. Like, wait till you see the reviews. Wait till it's out.
I feel like the whole industry needs to, take a pivot. Anyways, do follow us. We will actually be streaming. We'll do some on gaming, but we'll also hit some other industries.
Absolutely. I think we'll be talking about some TV shows and movies.
Yep.
Maybe just topics that aren't entertainment.
I was going to say we might even delve into carpeting, hardwood floors.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Got to go with the hickory. Anyways.
All right. Well, thanks again for watching. For everyone that's joined in, we'll be back next week, hopefully. If not, maybe the week after that. We'll see. We have day jobs and family and stuff, but we will try to do at least once a week. Look out for the link to the podcast. So we'll try to publish on all the
all
big
the information
platforms, and so be sure to listen to us too. Maybe you can listen to us in the car on the way to work. All right. So thanks again for watching. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.